And the question of how to improve security around the facility beckons for answer. Need I bring you up to speed as to the incidents that occurred at the Kuje Custodial Center, where we had a prison break of some sort, if I had to, describe it that way. Joining me via phone this morning is none other than the Executive Director herself, Prisoners Rehabilitation and Welfare Action, Dr. Kuje Agomwo. A very good morning to you, madam.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Glad to have you on the program. Let's start off with the question as regards how to improve security around some of our correctional and custodian centers. These facilities that house inmates, how can one improve the security around these facilities? Okay, madam.
I think in terms of what needs to be done, this has already been clearly spelled out. So I think really to say do what the law has indicated that should be done. So for example, if you look at Section 28 of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019, from subsection 1, 2, and 3, it's clearly stated that and I'm just going to reflect on this and maybe just share the wording of this particular provision. So subsection 1, it says, there shall be provided monitoring devices to protect, control, and safeguard correctional activities, including observatory towers, double parameter walls, closed circuit televisions, body scanners, e-monitoring devices, electrically activated alarm systems, and other instruments of restraint. Subsection 2 of that law says, the Correctional Service shall establish and maintain a fully equipped armed squad, intelligence and investigation unit to enhance security, surveillance, monitoring, intelligence gathering, and protection. Subsection 3 says, in deploying the facilities under subsection 1, priority shall be given to the security requirements of maximum security custodial centers. So simply what I would say, implement what the law has said. Okay?
Yeah.
So I just think that we need to be a little bit more serious than we are as a nation. I think that's just what I would say.
Well, it's sad. If I had to just take it away from you a little bit, the Minister of Interior had indicated that the attackers had more superior firepower than the armed persons who were protecting the Kuje Custodial Center. And here we are with the law stating that we're supposed to have an armed squad, we're supposed to have intelligence, and also the back and forth that security agents have been doing as regards the fact that, the Department of State Services are saying that they had, hinted on the possibility of an attack, and then the army did nothing, or the Nigerian police did nothing about it. How can we, marry and... All right, I would like to see if I could reconnect with Dr. Kuje Agomwo. We're talking about the prison attack by terrorists, where hundreds of inmates escaped in that jailbreak. Shoaib Belga said very determined rebels attacked the Kuje maximum prison. I think we've reconnected with her again. Hello. According to the information gathered, attackers opened fire on the convoy from an ambush position, but they were repelled by the military, and that's on the convoy of the Nigerian president, talking about President Muhammadu Buhari, somewhere in Katsina State. Hopefully we've reconnected with Dr. Kuje Agomwo. Good morning to you again, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning. I had that question, and sorry, the line cut off. I didn't know why.
Okay, I think the network is erratic, but let's go on.
Yeah. So just first, and I need to say this. So there is debate about the place of intelligence gathering.
Okay.
There is also a bit about acting on intelligence gathered. Do you understand? So
yes,
that's
I do.
Also big. So you also need to talk about the issue about fortification of the facility. So when you see those provision of that section 28 that I read to you, you see that it has all of those different aspects. So I think that, yes, if actually it is true that they had said the intelligence was provided, the question therefore is, why was that intelligence not acted upon? So that's the issue that needs to be addressed. And I am not in the place to respond to that because I don't have all the facts. But the question here is that we must ensure, and again, let me repeat it on this for class. All the facilities, all the maximum security facilities, including all the places that high-risk persons have been kept, needs to be compliant in terms of what is provided in terms of Section 28, Section 1, Section 2, and Section 3. If we don't do it, we are actually begging for more problems and more issues. So I think this should be the state of emergency regarding the state of correctional facilities should be declared. And I would say that it's not just an emergency for the facilities, it's a state of emergency for the entire justice system. Because you are having people that have facilities that are overcrowded. In many, at least over 30 facilities out of the 224 are overcrowded, especially those that are in all the cosmopolitan areas in this country. Many of those are waiting trial sessions. They haven't been convicted. We need to make sure that we declare this state of emergency and do the needful. So the sections that are actually something that we must begin to act on is that Section 28 I read for you, but also Section 12. Because Section 12 says that if, from Section 4 down, it says that if the facility has exceeded the capacity, the designated capacity, that certain things need to be done within 3 months. The chief judge and all the rest of that, the attorney generals of the state, so they need to do the needful. We can't just have a facility where you are mixing hardened offenders, the people who are minor offenders, and another activate non-custodial measures, so that those who are not serious offenders should be diverted away from custodial centers. Then the correctional officers can have the knowledge to do the needful, and resources need to be provided. So I think that all of these things, maybe with this particular, if we can tell ourselves the truth and be ready to talk about issues, because the issue about correctional reform and support in terms of justice system is not really that you are doing a favor or because you love the inmates or not. No, it is for the community security. It's to keep us safe.
So it doesn't. It's not right to have detained terrorists, in the same facility with other, minor offenders like you've described.
No, the point here is, if one is about a facility for particular kinds of inmates, so you can come into a particular facility and you have a separate unit, which is exactly what happened in Kuje. Kuje, what happened is that they have a separate unit that is meant for what they call the rehab program. There's actually a rehabilitation program for the de-radicalization program. So Kuje is one of the centers they are using, and those people are separate. But the question is that whether half or side is that place that you set them separately.
And then it seems like we have too many people inmates, too many inmates.
We have too many inmates, but even as that, and as I'm saying, in many correctional centers, it's even worse than in Kuje. Kuje is not worse yet in terms of the population of the inmates. It's bad enough, but you see the same problem in places like Ikoyi prisons. You see the same custodial centers. You see the same thing in places like Port Harcourt. In Omoahi, for example, where you are, the same thing. So again, the question here is that we need to make sure that we fortify the facilities according to the designation of those custodial centers and the kind of inmates that are there. Also, the regime, the programming in that facility must be aligned with the kind of risk the inmates that are there present. So you shouldn't have facilities where the phones are inside. I mean, inmates you can arrange to ensure that inmates have communication with their families. It has to be regulated. It has to be monitored. Inmates should not be using phones, and because it's difficult for you to monitor fully what is happening there. But again, the issue about activating intelligence, some people were saying CCTV cameras were not working. I don't know how truthful that is.
Okay, so are you saying there are CCTV cameras there?
One of the accounts, and this is not a full verified. I saw one of the accounts that was in the TV that was mentioning that they said, and I think this is what was the president that said or something. I was saying they needed footage from the CCTV cameras, and they were saying it probably was not working. I don't know whether that's the correct position, but the problem issue here is that we have to make sure that CCTV cameras are installed all over. It's not just, and it's not that's what it is everywhere, and it's not just in the facility. But you see, imagine if you had CCTV cameras also on the road, and you find out that these people move the map. It's not just they didn't just drop from the air and change it to the road. No, they moved. What did the community do? What did the individuals do? Are we seeing something? Are we saying something? So when I speak about whole of society approach, it is critical.
Dr. Agomo, this attack happened about the same time when the advanced convoy of the president was attacked in Katsina. Is that surprising? Would you call that a happenstance or a coincidence?
I do not know, but whatever we could see from these two is that it is an insult of the highest level in terms of the areas that we expect to have maximum security. So again, it is to say that we must. I mean, it is actually an insult to say that the was attacked. It shouldn't be heard of. So again, my question is, how is Ashoro secured? So we have to also make sure that place is very well secured, because that a lot of thoughts can come to one's mind regarding if somebody can dare do that on the seat for in the advanced convoy of the president. Secondly, for facilities such as Kuje, which is not too far from the center of affairs of the national capital, and a facility that do actually, in fact, host terrorist suspects and convicts, to be attacked the way it was attacked. Again, I say that we have to declare a state of emergency in terms of the security and justice apparatus of this country, especially the correctional centers, to ensure that every maximum security facility and every facility that have high risk offenders is actually compliant to Section 28, as I had said. Again, that all our facilities are compliant to what is said in that Section 12 I mentioned to you, Section 12, Section 4 to 12, which says we should not be keeping more than the persons that have been designated to be in that facility. And all the things that need to be done. So the judiciary and all of those, and it's not too difficult. You know why I say it's not too difficult? It's not too difficult because this same law, the Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019, has also provided a leeway. It has a whole part too that talks about non-custodial measures. My brother, why will people who are petty offenders, minor offenders, be kept in custodial centers? Custodial centers is supposed to be for the, as a last resort, for those who are at risk, who, if you keep them outside, will be, the society will be mainly at risk. So, if you are saving government money, you're promoting more integration and, and all of that. If you utilize non-custodial measures better, so that when you then have those who are in custody, to be only those ones who are really persons at risk before the society they are outside. And you will be there doing programming for them, intervention, rehabilitation, reformation, and all the rest of that, trying to reduce their risk. But if we are not doing that, we are really endangering ourselves. Because now we have a situation where so many people are in custody. So many persons who are in custody have not been convicted. Over 70% have not been convicted. And many of them stay long time, 10 years, 8 years, 15 years in custody. Don't forget, some may be innocent.
Yeah.
They may be master offenders. We can't, as a people, continue this like this.
There's this issue of some of our prisons predating the colonial era, and as such, some of the structures were built even before 1960. How does this affect, dispose the facility to attacks?
A lot of the facilities are no modern facilities, but here is you should remember that there are different categories of facilities.
Yeah.
There is even a facility that is called an open. In Kaduna, they have an open camp where is the inmates going and come out because they are low risk and these are people who can as well be at their home.
Oh,
you
really?
have prison farms that have no parameter codes. So the question here is that the kind of facility. In the UK, for example, you have facilities divided from category A, C, D, A, B, C, D, depending on the security requirements of each of the designation for each of the facilities. And that is in relation to the kind of inmates that you keep there. So what now needs to be done is that there needs to be a proper assessment of each of these facilities. And now I know what should I designate this facility for. So if the facility does not equate to really be designated as a maximum, so maybe you can downgrade it, and it could be an open camp. It can be a facility that is meant for some other thing, okay? So that you have the proper splitting out. Now, you can also, within that same facility, have a unit that is for your maximum and do that along the issues that you require to be used. Comply with Section 28. Comply with Section 28. Because when you comply with Section 28, you will then align that where you need it. And I must say this, every inmate, risk and needs assessment of every inmate needs to be done as the person is. And then whatever thing that you do with that individual must allow the risk and needs that you have assessed. And you must also understand that somebody's risk can change over time. Depending, so for example, you have it's again done some reformation, rehabilitation with that particular individual. Maybe, and let me give an example. Let's say a person who was using drugs, and the high risk of that person was higher because he was using drugs at that time. At the time the person had come off that, you have worked with the person had come after that, the risk level has reduced. So you then can also then think of, okay, I'll move you to this particular unit of the facility where this is now the level of the risk you do. So it's important to understand that the superintendent in charge of the custodial center needs to also have the ability to do that, and that the facilities must be also able to accommodate that movement so that when you assess, and if you assess and find out that somebody you thought was a low risk is now a high risk, then you will scale up what you need to do with the person, both in terms of where the person is now accommodated within the yard and to the facilities you make available to the person. So maybe before the person, if the person can have visitors, this number of visitors, now you check what kind of visitors, you decide what kind of letters you can allow, what kind of phone calls you need to monitor, and all the rest of that. So I am trying to explain that there is a bit about the designation of the security designation of each facility. But there is also a bit about the programming adaptation to the risk that each inmate will say at any particular time. And ability for the correctional officers in that, including the officer in charge who is intended, to monitor this as the time goes, and then do the needful in terms of allocating each inmate to a particular program and this a particular destination that they are required to be. But you see, if the place is overcrowded, if there's not adequate facility, it becomes a challenge. So, and the whole rehabilitation program is not working holistically. It becomes a challenge. The psychologists need to be put, digitized well. So the bits about psychological, spiritual, economic, whatever needs to be done. So again, I believe that we need to a little more serious than we are doing now. Remember that as these people are coming out, there is danger for the society. And this, for example, should actually make everybody understand the need to prioritize support to correctional services. So, because no matter what you put within your security architecture, whatever support you give in terms of other justice institutions, if you do not do this in the correctional service, providing and making them for them, every work you have done, just 1 day, 1 hour, flushing down the drain, like what we saw in exchange.
So finally, how much progress, Dr. Agomo? How much progress have we made in trying to transform the prisons to a real correctional center? Because it just seems like we just changed the names from the Nigerian prisons to Nigerian Correctional Center, and it's not really, we're not seeing that evolution affect the workings of the prisons system.
Yeah, well, how much progress? Let me say to you, the first thing that you have achieved as a nation is that you have a legal framework that enables and supports the reform.
Okay,
that's all. So you have a law which, and I must tell you, some other African countries are very thinking and asking us to, they're interested in trying to copy what Nigeria has done in terms of that law. Okay? But that's just the law. The law itself is not all you need. You have a law, yes, but that law has to be actioned now. You need to operationalize it. You need to support its full implementation. Just having the law itself does not change anything. So you have a law, section, part 2 of that law says there shall be now the non-custodial measures, and it tells you all the different ones, community service, probation, parole, restorative justice, and there's different ones. Having said it, that is on its own cannot solve the problem. You have to put funds in it. There is no single penny for that had been designated to the implementation of non-custodial measures for the Nigerian Correctional Service. Now, who's doing this to us? You have not employed outside beyond what already is the staff that already exists in the Correctional Service for the implementation of non-custodial measures. So they are using the staff that they have and designating them there. So you are not covering the field. So again, we have to make sure that, and we've said this time and time again, and the National Assembly said you forgot to budget, then budget whatever needs to. These are the kind of things we do with supplementary budgets. Huh? So you with that, and you see the community corrections, which is the non-custodial measures, what it does is that it provides the goods from the ground in terms of correctional officers who will also be supervising people in the community. Even when somebody has finished serving their sentences, they're in the community. Some people are supposed to be looking at them and monitoring them. If they were charged for minor offenses and all the rest of that, they are in the community monitoring them rather than put them in the custody while hardened criminals will corrupt them. So all of this and the slow grinding of the speed of dispensation of justice is even annoying a lot of inmates. So the person does not know. Some people will stay longer than they would have stayed, even if they were convicted in the first instance. So that can bring a lot of anger. That can bring a lot of pressure on the service. So how far have we gone? The far I will tell you is that only that the law has been made. Secondly, that the correctional service themselves have internally begun to adapt to that system. So, for example, they have established the Directorate of Non-Custodia.
Okay.
They have designated, that is already establishing. They have established deputy controllers of corrections in all the states of the federation in charge of non-custodia. They have designated a deputy controller general in charge of non-custodia. They have established the different units of the non-custodia at the headquarters. See them in terms of community service, and there is an assistant controller general in charge of those, the community service, probation unit, parole unit, restorative justice unit. They have done all of that, and we need to commend them for that. Okay. They have also had senior officers at that Directorate of Non-Custodia who are supervising different states and monitoring. That we have known. We've also known that in some states, and I must on this level commend Kwara State very, very well.
Okay.
Kwara State and the FCC have gone ahead to provide local government facilities for the non-custodial measures. So you have a lot of area councils in there that have designated and provided offices where that will happen. And I want to use this opportunity to call on Abia State and all of the other states we are hearing from Abia State to do likewise, so that can also support. But beyond that,
I'll take this as your last words on the program.
The last word is just that we need to open our hands together to help this nation. I commend and I recommend the whole of society's approach in addressing this issue. Implement the laws, including the Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019, specifically Section 12, subsection 4 to 12, and Section 28. Once we do that, we will start to see headway. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Uju Agormo, Executive Director of Prisoners Rehabilitation and Welfare Action. Hopefully we'll have a conversation some other time with you.
Thank you.
All right, bye for now. Well, on Victims' Voices, the focus was the prison break, the attack first, and then the escape by some inmates who were suspected Boko Haram terrorists. Well, at this point, I'd like to let the curtains fall because we're practically out of time. Hopefully, Victims' Voices will be back next week, Monday at 9:30 a.m. Up next is The Platform. My name is Tempo Bara. Do have a great day ahead. Bye for now.